Hello, my name is João Magalhães. I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Manchester, and I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and my work. So in general, I usually say that I'm interested in power, how power works, so how we get to act and think in the ways we do, who benefits from those processes, and whether those processes can generate justice or injustice. But of course, power is pretty much everywhere. And in my research, I'm mainly focused on digital platforms or social media. So I started this in my PhD when I was mainly interested in how ordinary people, ordinary users, make sense of, understand social media algorithms and how their understandings of those algorithms affect, shape those people act politically, but also how they see themselves as political actors, as citizens, right? And back then, what I realized was that in order to acquire visibility on social media, those people, ordinary users, they felt that they had to disrespect themselves and others, a phenomenon that I theorize as bottom-up authoritarianism. But over time, I got a little bit more interested in the power mechanisms of platforms themselves, and especially how they regulate our speech. We can call it content moderation for short. So in 2023, I was awarded a Veni grant from the Dutch government. And what the grant is essentially concerned with is understanding the history of content moderation. So how those truly new, sort of a technically innovative systems of mass speech control, how they have come into being, and essentially how by understanding this process of coming into being, of becoming global, how can we perhaps rethink content moderation, how we can reimagine moderation as fair and perhaps something that works for everyone. Generally, I would say that researching my field or digital trust is super fascinating, but it can be incredibly challenging. In my case, I think the biggest challenge is that the companies that I research, that I study, they can be very hard to make sense of. And that's mainly because they are quite opaque and they do everything they can to be sure that independent researchers cannot really understand how they work. But I do think that independent critical work in this field is absolutely crucial because the systems that those companies invented are already a central part of our everyday life, and with Gen AI, those systems are going to become even more important, right? And I think in the longer term, the kind of research that I and of course thousands of people do, it's truly essential because I guess I like to think that we are addressing what I consider to be the most pressing question of our times, essentially whether those systems can help us improve democracy or instead of undermine it, right? I think they can, but I think that kind of understanding how this can happen is complicated, but also fascinating. So in a way, I'm optimistic.